boat maintenance is a full-time job. So in order to get it all in, we got to start early.
Don't want the guillotine, you little dog. So the adage of engine maintenance follows an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of treatment. And I gotta be perfectly honest, I haven't been the best in the past about remembering exactly when to do some of the general maintenance tasks we need to do. So I built a spreadsheet. That shouldn't surprise any of you who've been following along. It tracks every single item that needs to be done, when it was done, both by date and hours on the engine, so I know when it needs to be done again. So if you're interested in it, I'll throw in a link below. Having said that, there's a number of things that have piled up that I need to just generally take care of. So that's what I'm doing this morning. I need a paper towel.
Acting as maintenance support is basically running around and getting things for the person that is doing all the maintenance, or holding things for them, or, you know, being a cheerleader when things go wrong.
Thanks. I'm gonna need a few more things eventually.
Oh, I know.
So the first thing is to check the engine oil. It's spot on, the exact right amount of engine oil.
Woohoo!
Next, we check the coolant. Low on coolant. So we're gonna need some, but keep going on the general checks. Check the alternator belt tension, which is good. Check the water pump belt tension, which is good. Next, check the seawater strainer. Make sure there's nothing in there. Oh, no, other side. So one thing with engine maintenance, you go to engine room yoga. This is pretty gross. Could be cleaned out.
Looking much better.
All of that was the daily checks, and the one piece of general maintenance I need to do right now is I need to drain the fuel filter. In order to do that, we have to turn the fuel cock off, which is under our bed.
Okay. We keep all of our engine consumables down here in this locker. So presumably, I'll be able to find some coolant in here. Antifreeze and coolant. There's not very much in there, so I'm gonna grab another one. I should have asked if there was anything else we thought we were gonna need from down here. Oh well. Now, the fuel cock is underneath the bed. And if engine yoga is a thing, then under the bed yoga is also a thing. I've had people ask me if this is annoying, having this stuff down here, and the answer is yes. Yeah, there we go. All right, let's go get cool.
Go. Last but not least is draining the fuel filter. The traditional way of bleeding the fuel line is to actually start the engine and to rev the engines like up and down a lot, which will get the air out of the fuel line. But the engines on our boat are actually nice because they have a way to do it without doing that. So there's a little pump directly on the engine where you can just pump fuel into that housing and it'll do it for you. But in order to do that, we have to have the fuel cock open. Yep. How did you get out? All right, so that was the daily and 50-hour or monthly maintenance that we need to do. Still have to do the other engine, but that's pretty much everything we need to do until the 100-hour mark, where things like change the engine oil and whatnot come into play. Having said that, I am not an engine mechanic. I know electronics, so all of this is self-taught, and if I did anything wrong, please let me know. And if you want to help with the 100-hour service and you're in wherever we are at the time, let me know.
All right, y'all, it's confession time, and I'm gonna give it to you straight. We've actually been here at Musha for a few days now, and we've even attempted to do some filming, mainly of the cave that we could see daily from our front door. If you weren't here, wouldn't be the same. Can't beach your boat at a private island, but you can anchor at one. Let's live for the moment before the moment's gone. Even with our empty pockets, we got it all. So perfectly round. It's weird for a cave to be so perfectly shaped. It's beautiful. The boat that was here before us left their names in the sand, so we might as well join in on the tradition.
So the beach that's inside this cave that we're standing on right now at high tide is probably covered in about a foot, maybe a foot and a half of water. It's low tide right now and it's unreal in here.
And some days, you just don't have a whole story to tell in you. I can't talk about this. I don't know why. And even if you do, sometimes you just can't find the words. And some days, things just go wrong. Like when we went to go visit the iconic mermaid and piano statue, living a whimsical life under the sea. Despite all of our efforts to bring you along, we failed. Mainly because no matter how hard I tried, I just couldn't get down to the ocean floor for a nice long chat with our enchanted friend. And it might be because I'm too buoyant in my wetsuit, or because I want to achieve it so bad I'm psyching myself out. Or it might be that it's not purely a physical struggle or an emotional one, but the perfect blend of both. One of the reasons we stopped here is because the absolutely iconic Bahamian landscapes that exist all around here. The cave is one of them, but the one that my heart is really seeking after is the mermaid. And really, I want to get a photo with it. And I know it's been done so many times, and it's been done really well by a plethora of people. But that doesn't mean that I don't want a memory for myself and an image of myself trying to tackle diving down, getting in position, and hanging out with a mermaid on the ocean floor. Like, how often do you get to say you get to do that? But there's a problem. And the problem is I am not a good free diver yet. I have been practicing, but it's one of those things that just takes time.
So we actually had a really hard time trying to figure out how to film this next bit because we're just learning ourselves how to do this. And let's be honest, how interesting is it to watch someone just hold their breath for a while? So with education on the mind, let's get into it.
Apnea training is simply conditioning the body to go longer amounts of time without oxygen. Experts advise that newbies start on land. Now, when you hold your breath, your body converts O2 to CO2. And the longer you hold, the less O2 you have. And you start to feel uncomfortable with rising CO2 levels. And eventually, because our bodies are CO2 intolerant, we gasp for air, to replenish our O2 supply.
Now, according to everything that we've found online, free dive training, or being able to hold your breath longer really, is first and foremost about building up your tolerance to CO2. And once you've built up your tolerance to CO2, then you can start to build up your O2 efficiency, which allows the air that's actually in your lungs to last longer. But we start with CO2 because if you can't get past the urge to purge, it doesn't really matter how efficient the air in your lungs is, because you'll never get past the urge to gasp for air.
Hungry for the road all my life, thirsty for adventure all my youth, chasing all my freedoms down Liberty Avenue. And every time I hear a phrase my mother used to say to me, everything happens for a reason, I get the feeling I need.
You can tell that I'm excited to do this because I'm getting us all ready to go while Charles is still on a call, so that when he gets off, we can just get going. Timing the tides and his workload is a challenge.
Home, 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 just a little taste of home. I need a little taste of home, home, home. I need a little taste of home.
Look who's at work!
Nothing like kitchen conversation, steam coming up off the stove.
Good omen. So, what we learned is the current makes an unnecessary challenge. So, we wanted to go at slack tide, but balancing slack tide and Charles's work schedule and the daylight has become quite the challenge. So here we are. We have about an hour and a half of daylight left, which is enough. And yeah, let's go.
Every time I hear a song my father used to sing to me, sweet words of an Irish lullaby, I get the feeling I need a little taste of home, home, home. I need a little taste of home. Home, 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 just a little taste of
So,
home.
assuming we can both get down there at the same time, which is already a big assumption, we both have to be able to hold our breath long enough for one person to get in place and the other person to get a properly framed photo, because the last thing that you want in the world is to come back up and realize that the person is completely off center or not even in the frame at all.
Home, I need a little taste of home. Just buy my ticket, I pick up the phone. I'm calling to tell you that I'm coming home. Home, 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 I'm coming home.
We both did it! I'm so excited! Now we have to go and look and see if it came out on camera!